He got hit last week and he was sick.
Oh.
He struggled.
Dang, that kid.
Here.
I now call the April 4th meeting of the Wright State University Student Government Association to order. Naomi, will you please take roll call?
President.
Here.
Vice President. Chief of Staff.
Here.
Director of External Affairs.
Here.
Chief Justice.
Here.
Chief Policy Officer. Speaker of the House. Assistant Speaker of the House. Here. Director of Academics. Director of Accessibility, Health and Safety.
Here.
Director of Student Affairs. Here. Assistant Director of the Freshman Internship Program.
Here.
Assistant Director of Outreach and Collaboration.
Here.
Moonshaw School of Medicine Senator. College of Education and Human Services Senator. Here. College of Engineering and Computer Science Senator.
Here.
College of Nursing and Health Senator. College of Science and Math Senator.
Here.
Commuter Senator. Here. Graduate Senator.
Here.
Rochland College of Business Senator. Presidential Senator.
Here.
School of Professional Psychology Senator.
Here.
University College Senator.
Here. Thank you, Danae. Is there any opposition to the approval of the agenda? Nathan?
I recommend that the Senate motion to amend the agenda by adding career services proposal to old business.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? All those in favor? Motion approved. Thank you. Is there any opposition to the approval of the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Member reports. Greta.
I'm going to be meeting with Linda again to kind of go over one last project. I've mentioned it before, but looking into senior education majors and all the hours they put in for student teaching, but not getting compensation for that with jobs. So I'm going to be looking into that and then also updating my project sheet and everything for the next incoming senator. So, end report.
Thank you. Rick.
I met with our incoming engineering senator last week just to kind of show him the ropes and run him through what was going on with the budget and whatnot. And we'll be meeting again in the future. Then tomorrow I'll be meeting with WEC to discuss transforming that into something a little more substantial. So,
Thank you.
So last week I met with David and Alex to talk about the video project I'm doing for the first year seminar classes. And the next step is to try to reach out to the leaders of the Big Six and kind of organize all that. And because we want the leader of each one of those to be in the video. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Matt?
So a little over 2 weeks old, but the results of the blood drive are in. Really good. Out of our goal of 29 donors, we got 33 donors, 114% of our goal. Really good blood drive, and we had over 42 donors registered, so we actually had a lot more registered than we could accommodate. I'll be talking to Cora about future dates in the fall. If there are any returning SGA members interested in kind of working the blood drive for next fall, please contact me afterwards or let me know after the meeting. These last week and this week, I've been working on Dean Circle applications. We've been interviewing candidates, and we should have our selected candidates sometime by this Friday or by this weekend. We'll be having a new DSAB this next year here. End report.
So I got the list of the apartments near Wright State campus, and from Lindsay Stellar, and I'm sorting those in a Word document so it's easier to send to the Office of Student Affairs, and hopefully they will approve that and put those on the website. End of report.
I'm still writing a report about the professional experience of students, and apart from that, I got to meet, I got an appointment to meet Dr. Bebrick on April 11th regarding the pilot usage of professors. End of report.
Still working on the hospitality services proposal with Cody and Lucas. The 4 points that I said earlier are the same, except to the first point of we wanted to have organizations be able to use outside catering, and Lucas just informed me that Chartwell's is giving a discount to organizations now, to where they won't have to use outside catering. So, end report.
Thank you. Hayden?
All right, so I'm with the different cohorts to plan the SOPP mixer. It's been kind of difficult with the fourth years that are getting ready to go off to internship, and we have their kind of match day celebration coming up. But so still working on that, and then hopefully by next Tuesday I will have a proposal for funding that I'm going to request from the Senate. So hopefully that'll come. And then this Thursday at the SOPP student government meeting, I'm hoping to get the SG's final response to the liaison senator position and how they really feel about that going forward into next year. And then also SOPP is doing a lot for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Sexual Assault, Awareness Month. And so we're doing like a bunch of social media challenges and stuff just to advocate for survivors and different stuff like that. So I will be sending information out for anybody that wants to participate later this week. So, end of report.
So we had our elections for DSAB. We have a new president, vice president, and the same secretaries there. We just had Nursling Day last week. That went over really well. And we're getting ready to have another event at Bethany Village. It's the Four Paws event. So we'll take the dogs there and go with the residents. And that's on April 19th. And then again on April 19th, we're having the Being Mortal movie showing in Whitehall. So if anybody wants to see that, that's from 6 to 8. So, end report.
Thank you. Alex?
Okay, so I have been compiling a detailed ROI report of our social media channels, as well as working on a template for the newsletter that will be coming out by the end of the semester. And last week I met with David and Colin to work on the org video, and hopefully that'll be out by the end of the semester. So, end report.
Thank you. Molly?
Great, so most of the programming that we did for the House of Representatives is pretty much over now. The main thing we're focusing is the sustainability of what we have done this year, but also finishing up our SOAR program. So the SOAR tracker, which kind of gives organizations the opportunity to put in, how many community service hours on average per person did their organization contribute, and what all workshops they went to. And we also have those records, but we asked the organizations to fill that out. It'll be on OrgSync. That's coming live beginning of next week we're shooting for, and it'll be due at the end of the semester. And then kind of the process of that is making sure that we identify the organizations, whichever tier they fall into, and then we'll work with next year's team to help allocate all the proper rewards for that. In addition to that, we have successfully distributed the t-shirts for one of the top tier organizations and the top tier banner that Andrew designed for us. So that will actually be hung in public just to kind of showcase the top tier organizations. In addition to Nick, our secretary, he has helped us out graciously the past few weeks, month or two, and we have a student org highlight template set in place for recognizing student organizations on a semi-regular basis. Other than that, that is pretty much it. And then Hopkins Farewell Party, Nathan and I are continuing to plan that. There are a few changes, but you guys will get an email about that and a special invite. So, end of report.
Thank you. Nick?
Last weekend I had a meeting with a gentleman from CATS to talk about the possibility of having more security cameras implemented in the parking lots. It is very cost prohibitive, so it's not something that's probably not viable for the university at this time, but got some good information for hopefully a future SGA to use. And I've also just been making sure that the projects that I will not have completed are in a good position to be continued for my successor. End of report.
Thank you.
I had a meeting with Eric Corbett today. We had a great discussion about the workspace and what he can actually fund when it comes to the changes. I think we're in a great position to move forward and get a good chunk of what we were looking to get done, finished by the end of the year, which is exciting. And also, like a few other people have said, I'm just trying to get all my projects, including the org space, in order so that when the next person comes in, they'll have a smooth transition into the work I haven't finished.
I officially ended all of my meetings with the freshmen and let the leads decide when they need to end their committee meetings, which they have all ended their committee meetings, hopefully to focus on rounding out the year with amazing academics is what I told them. So now I'm focusing on sustainability, putting together a contact list, organizational chart, and a timeline for person who takes over this position next. Any report?
Tomorrow, I'll be meeting with my committee and we'll be finalizing and making the purchases necessary for the April Craze programming that SJ will be doing. April Craze is April 21st from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Will be located in the walkway and the walkway in the North Lawn that's closest to the Union, if that makes any sense. It's near Medside. And I will actually also be working with Colin on the UVC, the UVC classes and student org video. So I'll be looking forward to working with him on that as well. And I'm also been working on the sustainability plan for my position as well. So and a report.
Thank you. Is there any report discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into committee reports. Are there any committee reports? This is easy. Seeing none, we'll move to new business. Resolution 17-05, writing candidates. I've got to pull that up real quick. Oh, we had career services okay. We're going to have to hold off on, I'm going to have to table career services just because Nathan's not here right now. But we'll come back to it at the end if we can. So resolution 17-05, I'll read it for you real quick. Broth.
I want to move that the number of votes in that should be reduced to half than what it is required, because we all feel, I mean, like most of us feel it is too much for a ranking candidate to get the votes.
So, Broth, you're proposing an amendment to change the number from 100 to 50 and from 50 to 25. Is that correct? And is there a second on that? All those in favor? Excuse me, discussion on that first, before all those in favor. Is there any discussion, Broth?
As we already proposed, I mean, we already told you that we feel like 100 votes for writing candidates should be too much, because we don't, I mean, like most of the times the students not, I mean, writing candidates or any of the students will not be getting 100 votes in every cases. Sometimes you do, sometimes you not. So we all feel 100 votes for writing candidates should be too much.
Is there other discussion? Right.
As we've discussed with the Senate, I still feel that it should be reduced even further to 25 for each college. And that is to just make it a little easier and a little more of an incentive for at least someone to run for a position, even if it's through a write-in campaign.
And just to clarify, let me read the resolution real quick so we can understand where we're at on this, just for everybody in the audience. It's a resolution to further define the rules for writing candidates for the Student Government Association election process. We talked about doing this earlier in the year, but we tried to do it right during the smack dab middle of the elections, which is not the right time to do that. So we want to be able to define this for the future. And I'm just going to go to the resolves real quick since I've sent this out already. Resolve, the Student Government Association hears Civil Rights State University amend Article 25, Section 11 to include subsection B, say, all writing candidates in an election without at least one candidate who has fulfilled the necessary requirements to be deemed eligible for the SGA elections must receive 100 votes in order to be declared the victor, with an exception being made for the College of Nursing and Health, which would only require 50 votes. And we may need to further define that. And let it further be resolved that the Student Government Association here assembled at Rice University amend Section E, that all writing candidates in a race that does have at least one candidate who's fulfilled all requirements to be deemed eligible for the SGA elections will be deemed the victor if they receive a plurality of votes. And then resolve further that in the case of a tie, the current Senate will vote to decide the victor. So right now, the amendment on the floor is to take the first resolve from 150 down to 50 and 25. And is there any further discussion? Brenna?
I think 50 is fair just because they're already having to do a lot less than what other centers had to do. They're campaigning. And to Greg's point, worrying about people not having incentive if they're really not going to apply for positions simply because there's 50 signatures. And I don't know if I necessarily want them in the position anyway, because that's not, I don't think that's too unfair of a request. So.
Is there any other discussion? Oh, Nathan.
So, are we at 50?
So right now it's going from 100 to 50 and 50 to 25.
Okay.
So half of what it takes to get signatures. Okay. Clarification. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to vote on the amendment? Is there a second? All those in favor of the amendment? Amendment passes. Back to the resolution itself. Is there any discussion on the resolution itself? All those, is there a motion to vote? Oh.
I had a question.
Yeah, Ben.
If a write-in candidate then does not get the required amount of votes, then what happens?
So then it's an appointed position from that point forward. Yep. Are there any other comments, questions? Is there a motion to vote? All those in favor? Or is there a second? All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Now we're going into some confirmations. Chief of Staff confirmation. In light of David Baum being absent, we'll have Holly Mabel speak on his behalf. Yeah.
Just for everybody and those watching on Facebook Live, the newly elected president and vice president appoint the positions for next year. So the president, like Lucas mentioned, isn't here, so Holly's taking that over. But these positions in the next few weeks that we'll be doing this will affect next year's roles, and we're putting forth the candidates.
Thank you.
So we are currently in the process of interviewing executive board and cabinet member positions, but there are a few positions that we are able to go ahead and appoint. So at first, I would like to introduce our Chief of Staff confirmation is Doug Benedict. This is on behalf of David and I. We suggest to the Senate that Doug is the ideal candidate for this position, and from his resume, his interview, and just the skill set that he brings to the table for SGA next year, we believe is suitable for this.
Doug, do you have any words?
Do you want to say?
Yes, please.
Just to speak to my qualifications, I'd say this year, the way my program was structured has been kind of like putting me in Chief of Staff role anyways. I've been leading 7 leaders to lead 7 committees, and in which they lead their own committee, of course. And I've gotten a lot of insight on how to direct people, how to help them out in places they don't know, coach them on professionality and leadership, and how to work with difficult situations, which will always be ran into. I love SGA though. It's so much fun. I remember when I was doing this in the beginning of the year, and I would be overjoyed to be able to serve in this position next year.
Are there any questions for Doug? Seeing none, if the candidate and the public could leave the room, we're going to go. We'll now move into our Chief Justice confirmation. Holly?
Great. So similarly, we had Austin Raines apply for the position in behalf of David and myself. We believe that he is most suitable for this position. He comes with a wealth of knowledge and insight and exceptional leadership skills. I think he'll be a great asset to our executive board team and just be able to help with the election process and kind of providing some oversight for our next year's leadership. So Austin, you now have the floor.
Yeah, hi everybody. I know I don't know everyone, so my name is Austin Raines. I'm a senior this year, but I'll be moving into my graduate program at Wright State University next year, or this coming summer. So I do plan on being here for another 2 years, and I'm loving every minute of it. But I'll be getting my MBA, So with a focus in healthcare and project management. So just to speak to SGA, you know, I've been on several committees and that's been the extent of my experience, but other than that, I've been a member and president of Alpha Sigma Phi in the past as a leader there with a few members in the room, and it's been a pleasure and joy to lead those men. And with my experience in SGA, I really have grown to know some of the people and to understand the structure of it, and I really enjoy it. I love the people and I love the organization, and I think this next year is going to be really challenging, but full of opportunity, and I'd love to be a part of that. So, thank you.
Any questions for Austin?
Why do you want my job?
So I would like the position of Chief Justice just because I think you get to you get to focus on a few different things as a member of the judicial branch, but you also get to maybe help in some ways as the chief parliamentarian and advise the president in some of those aspects. And I'm really looking forward to kind of filling that role as an advisor. So yeah, and I'm hopeful to acquire the student trustee position, and I believe there's some overlap there in that position and with student government.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about your internship as well and what skills you've developed there and any relationships you've built up?
Absolutely. So I am I'm actually on the same grant as Gavin is, and we work with the Ohio Economic Adjustment, which is a $7.5 million grant focused on developing the economy within Dayton. And my part is really marketing and marketing the startup community, connecting startups with the right resources. So through WSRI, we've created an organization called Dayton Tech Guide, and we focus on startup incubation and really helping build those small businesses, those entrepreneurs who are the backbone of our community. And that's been amazing. I've met a lot of great people and learned a lot of great lessons about business development. And that's pretty much the extent of that current internship. Yeah. Thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, sweet. So it's really cool that you're transitioning from undergrad to grad school here at Wright State. How will that transition affect your role here in SGA, either for the better, or would it the time conflicts?
Well, I
like
think
that,
I think there's two parts to that. I think that time management's not really an issue for me. The program is fully online, and what I will be doing is fully online anyway, with a few classes on down the road in person. But time management's never been an issue for me. I've been in several leadership positions at the same time. I've served on the Interfraternity Council as the Director of Internal Affairs and as President of my chapter at the same time, while going to school and serving in an internship. So time management's never been an issue. But I think my experience at Wright State for the past 4 years is really going to give me some insight on the role and how SGA and what SGA does for the next year. So yeah, I think if anything, my experience here is going to improve. Yes. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, if our candidate and the public can leave the room, we'll move to the voting procedures. now we'll move into Resolution 17-06, honor resolution for Dr. Hopkins. Nathan, do you have that available?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. So I've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, and I've been working with the e-board to really get this done. We had different ideas, but we finally settled with this version. So I'm going to read the resolution. Whereas the Wright State University Student Government Association, on behalf of student body of Wright State University, recognizes President David R. Hopkins for his contributions to the Raider family. And whereas Dr. Hopkins served as the 6th president of Wright State University from Feb 2007 to March 2017. And whereas under his leadership, Wright State has been nationally recognized for its service to military veterans, students with disabilities, and community service and engagement. And whereas under his leadership, Wright State University made strategic investments within our Neuroscience Engineering Collaboration Building, Student Success Center, Wright State Physician Building, Tom Hanks Motion Picture Center, and the expansion of the Creative Arts Center. And whereas Dr. Hopkins successfully led the Rise Shine campaign, which raised over $160 million for Wright State community. And whereas Dr. Hopkins, fondly called as President D-Hop, is known for his holistic understanding of the student body and his student-centered approach to the leadership, and therefore be resolved, the Student Government Association here assembled at Wright State University commends President David R. Hopkins for his service to the Wright State community. We wish him a very long and enjoyable retirement, and our best wishes to him and his family for the continued success, happiness, and health in years to come. Adopted by Wright State University Student Government Association on 4th day of April 2017.
Is there any discussion? Yeah?
Why are we doing this?
It's to commend, Nathan, you can speak to that actually.
Sure. It's basically student government tries to do honorary resolutions either when we see a person of community who is extensively advocating for students, or at the time of retirement we did for Dr. A. So it's basically an honorary resolution presented on behalf of student government to recognize their inputs or advocacy for students. And it happens to be at the time of his retirement this year. So.
Is there other discussion? Right?
So I know that there might be some animosity towards the administration during this whole budget crisis. However, Dr. Hopkins has always been a great student advocate and has always been very involved in student life. And so that is why I think he deserves this resolution.
Yeah?
I disagree, but I will just go along, be along.
Yeah?
Yeah, going off what Rick said, we're in a very complicated budget situation right now, and students feel different ways about different people at the university, and things have been different people's faults that have led us into this situation. This resolution isn't addressing that, it's addressing the positive things that have happened, and I think no matter how bad things are, no matter whose fault things may have been, the facts are that the things listed there were heavily guided under Dr. Hopkins' leadership, and as the past student body president who worked very closely with him, I can say he did take a very active and engaged approach to student leadership and a student-driven approach to governing the university. As far as meeting with any students that raised concerns on a number of issues, giving them the time as the president of the university to sit down with them and truly hear them out, and calling in his senior staff to do the same was really impressive to me. So I would like to be able to celebrate the positive things that he has done here, not ignoring anything that may have gone wrong, but at least also be able to celebrate the positive with this resolution.
Nathan?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. Relevant of the budget situation, he has always celebrated students, connected to the student bodies, different groups, and even if you see the Facebook comments on a lot of different forums, there's always students who love them. Is always focused on students, and my opportunity to work with him was during the debate times, and even if it was after the debate plug was pulled, he made sure certain things on the debate student aspects went on, be it the mock forum or the comedy show and all that. So he spent time recognizing students, so at least he deserves that.
Is there a discussion? Is there a motion to vote? Is there a second? All those in favor? Motion passes.
Can I just make the plan is to present this on the event on Friday, Saturday?
Whenever the event
Yeah,
is.
whenever.
Hawkins Farewell Party.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now we're going to discuss parking, and then we'll go into career services briefly. So parking. I'm meeting with Greg Sample in the morning to kind of discuss some of the current issues that students might be having with parking, as well as to provide some recommendations from the student end on that. We're going to be getting as much information as we need tomorrow, and that's really what the first meeting is about. Is just finding out he wants to know what information we want from them, and they're willing to provide as much as we need. I'm just kind of open the floor for the next 5 to 10 minutes if necessary for any suggestions that we have to improve our parking experience here on campus, or major issues that we're seeing with parking on campus. As this is, there's a resolution, or there was a document I found in 1987 that said parking, or Wright State's most persistent and urgent problem is parking. So that's been going on for a while. So that's 30 years ago. We're going to talk about it today, though. Okay. Gavin.
The gate, I guess, that went up between Lot 4 and the Student Union, entryway to Lot 4 there, personally is a little inconvenient for some of the places that I go through there. If there's good reason for it to be there, that's fine, but I'd like to know why that was placed there, and if they were testing something, and what the results of that were, just to see if it's something that should stay, or something that should be removed.
That's great. Lane.
I just want to touch on to like the gates of the faculty parking spots, faculty parking lots, because we currently have one parking lot with all faculty parkings. That's why they put up the gate just to prevent students parking in there. But students are able to park in faculty parking spot after 4 o'clock, so I feel like that will reduce the parking spot available for students.
Is it
And maybe
4 or
removing
4:30?
It's 4.
4.
It's 4.
So maybe removing the gate will help the situation for the later students who came on campus.
Thank you. Sean?
I think they were.
Let's go to Nathan, Brenna, and then Sean. And Holly.
It's okay.
Nathan, there's
Actually,
a lot
no,
of
what Lynn said was what I was going to be talking about, so never mind.
Okay. Nathan?
I was just going to say, I know there was, at one point in time, the university was considering privatizing parking, and I'm absolutely not on board with it for various reasons. At OSU, it did not work. Cincinnati did not work, and it's not going to work in Wright State.
Is that
a terrible idea?
Brenna?
I still want to look into changing some of the faculty spots into students, because I still have never seen any faculty, all the spots filled ever in any of the faculty sections, so there's always open spots. So I think that would help just a little bit at least.
Sean, and then Holly, and then Lane and Gavin. Sean?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to increase the parking price, as well as increase like the familiar, or like the students being familiar with the shuttles and being able to park in the Nutter Center lots or something along those lines, because a lot of the times the shuttles do run empty and they're really nice. I mean, I rode it for the first time this year, and I wish I would have rode it my like orientation or before I came to Wright State to buy a pass. Or is it free to park over there?
I need a little over $20, so I'm not sure on that.
So even if we were to raise the price $20 over here and decrease that to free over there, possibly. Yeah.
And a point of information on that, I got some information quickly. Right now, our ridership costs about $5.60 per rider per trip, and that's because how low the ridership is. And you got to think that's probably back and forth. So each rider is probably costing us $12. It would be cheaper to just give them an Uber than have this process that we're doing right now. So we need to either increase traffic over to that area and with utilizing this, or stop doing what we're doing right now, because it's costly to the university. Hopefully I remember where we're at. Holly?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to reiterate what Brenna said. I've received like specific complaints about the number of faculty spots that are unused during the whole day's length, that we could really look into those numbers, even at specific colleges, or specific lots, look into those numbers and how much they're actually used. In addition, one thing I've noticed is that now we definitely need these, but sometimes there's an abundance of handicap spots that are not used at all. Specifically some in res life and housing, like in the apartments, there could be like 5 spots, but there may only be 1 student who needs that spot, and they're just constantly vacant all the time. So that's just one thing to look into. And then also, kind of what you guys were mentioning about the buses, I don't really see many people using the buses around campus, but they're constantly running. So just look at the cost effectiveness of that.
Do you have any point of information on that?
Yeah, so by law, there's a certain amount of handicap accessible parking spots that there has to be based on the number of spots in the lot.
Okay.
And so that's why it is that way.
Gotcha.
Ling Gavin.
So from what I've heard, they say that the number of faculty spots at different lots is kind of tying to the ratio of the faculty in a certain building. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard from parking.
So we need to know why the number of
Yeah,
faculty.
and like ask for the ratio, like what numbers are those?
Gavin, thank you.
Another point on the the number of faculty spots and student spots. When the NEC building was built, many spots were taken out of the parking lot that was there in order to expand to the building, and exclusively those were taken from students. So faculty did not lose 1 spot when that happened, and that's simply because the faculty have a more consistent bargaining unit that they work with and are very adamant about rights that faculty have, which is good for them, but we need to be equally vigilant. And I don't believe if an expansion like that happens, it should be exclusively taken from students. Specifically, a lot of the spots were taken from the parking lot next to Lot 1 for the student union. That's next to Russ. In addition, there's been a big container taking up like 6 spots, student spots again. I don't know why it's there. It's been there for about a year. It seems like that should be moved. It's not looked into. The other option would be, and I think Lucas might have actually mentioned this at one point, but having tiered parking prices. So to Sean's point of incentivizing people to go to Lot 20 and take the shuttle, but also even tiered parking spots within the other lots. Like Lot 1 maybe is more expensive than Lot 4 and vice versa, so that you can have different levels of parking available.
Thank you, Gavin. I don't know where we're at, so I'm going to go down the line this way to start it. Peyton.
Sure. So I kind of had, like, it's a weird idea, and I don't know if it would at all be possible. But a lot of people hate the people that drive around and have to ticket the cars, but it makes sense because that's a good way to raise money for the university. I was thinking, like, and also a way to incentivize using the Right State app, it would be really neat if they could, like, as they're driving around doing their rounds, update on the app or anything when there's open spots in certain lots for students to be able to, like, look and see. And I think that would be a neat service if they were able to provide it. Probably wouldn't be able to, like, be real time because that would take a lot of effort, and I don't know if that would, like, what the cost would be into that, but that would be interesting. Because then people could just, like, hop on the app and be like, oh, there's like 10 spots open on lot 4, I'm gonna swipe over there. So, I don't know. I would like it.
Matt, just because Sean just barely. Yeah. Matt.
I'm just kind of curious, are we able to acquire certain metrics? For instance, how many commuter spots, how many white spaces, yellow spaces there are currently available, residential spaces? And another point I wanted to bring up was, ever since they closed down that section of Lot 4 that Gavin was talking about earlier, there seems to be a lot of congestion in the back part of Lot 4. And so traffic has been kind of snailing through that intersection. I don't know if everyone knows what I'm talking about, but that intersection goes right behind those shopping districts and Meyer, and it's a two-way stop too. So incoming traffic is able to freely move inside, while 2 sides are at the mercy of incoming traffic. Maybe there's a way you could remedy that with like stop signs possible, or even having a some signals person, but there's a lot of congestion in the back part that needs to be addressed.
Okay, really good. Thank you. Nathan?
I was going to add to Brenna's and Holly's point of giving back the faculty spots. Since the university has significantly cut faculties in administration over the BRIP and future cuts, we've got to create more spots. So that's one selling point too.
I would like to let the record show that I think he read off of what I wrote down for my question and stole my good question there. But basically, I was going to say something along those lines, as well as with the budget cuts. If they cut, for example, not that they will, but if they cut 20% of the faculty, then they should do that as well with the parking. So then it'll offset the percentage of parking spots available.
Hopefully it'll be different branches thinking. Doug?
I was going to talk about the gate in Lot 4. I think the reason they put that up partly because there was congestion there and it's kind of awkward knowing when to go because it's like offset from leaving Lot 1, Lot 2. My suggestion is just move that down to match up with the exit of Lot 1 and Lot 2 immediately. Or not immediately, but you know what I mean? Do you understand? Do I need to draw it?
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.
Nah, it's all right.
Perfect chief of staff right there.
I'm so sorry.
He already got his job for next year.
Maybe we could look into like repainting the lines, maybe to be diagonal. I know that sometimes you can fit more spaces per lot if they're diagonal. I don't know how feasible that'd be. So yeah. I know like I went to Carroll High School. We used to have them the way they are now, and we actually fit more spots when they changed it to be diagonal. So that's just something that we could look into.
Did they reduce
Especially
the
for
distance though from the side to side? They reduced that distance?
Not so much that, but it's because when you make it diagonal, the lane you're driving down will just be one way. Because with this, if the lines are slanted this way, you'd only be driving in this direction. You'd park there. You'd go out that way. No one can come this way. So that would reduce the space between the parking rows. Yeah.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, in housing, I think that it says that ticketing is till 10, but after 4, there's almost no ticketing that happens in housing. And I'd like to see that because like the 30-minute zones, the handicap spots, everything is full, like close to the housing. And they're not being ticketed until the next morning. And then also they have to take a picture and then like show that they've been there for 30 minutes or whatever in the morning, and to where the students don't have to move their car till like 8 or 8:30, and the students know that and they're abusing the system. And I think bringing the parking ticketators back after until 10 is what it says would increase. I don't know how much they make off ticketing, but
Close to $400,000 a year.
yeah. So I mean, it would be a lot.
But we make a profit because of that.
And yeah, along with that, creating a visitor spot or visitors parking in housing, because currently you have to go through and get a temporary tag for your guests if they were to spend the night and park in the lot by the hangar or Allen Hall, I guess. That's where they are supposed to park. And I've never heard of anyone getting a pass like that, and therefore they're parking in resident spots. And I know that we sold out of resident spots this year. However, a lot of people left or whatnot, and so it's opened up now. But at the beginning of the first semester, you couldn't find a spot after 9, and it's because residents had their visitors over. And then back to the shuttles, I think that the Nutter Center is kind of disconnected from the campus, and I think just increasing the use of shuttles, especially in housing, if people want to buy resident spots and just park over there, just getting students familiar with that side of campus would be a great way to increase students coming to games. And a lot of residents haven't even been to the Nutter Center.
So I'd like to limit the discussion to the next 3 and the next 3 placards. Oh, 4.
I just had a point of information.
Yeah, go ahead.
To increase shuttling, it would be necessary to make sure that all the shuttles have handicap accessible stuff. Because I remember at one time, not all the shuttles had lifts and everything.
So I'm going to limit it to the next 3, and then if you have more information, just go ahead and send that to me, and I'll get as much data as I can. I just need to know what we need to collect, and then we'll have that for you next week. Link?
Okay, I just want to reflect on to Nathan's point because I did some research during the beginning of the year about diagonal parkings, and Cody and I actually did calculations. Diagonal parking will only work in big lots. So lot 4 is the one that we're looking to. It will actually decrease the parking spots after doing the calculation.
Ben?
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
Never mind. That's most people, all right. Doug, you're
Just
last.
another suggestion for the gate. Maybe open it. I deal with this gate all the time. It was my main entry point. Maybe open it after a certain hour, because coming in to like this meeting, if I get trapped in lot 4, then I gotta run in. So it would just make flow easier, and when there's not a lot of congestion anyway.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Cody and I are going to have that meeting tomorrow, and we'll update you as soon as we can. Now into career services. Nathan.
Oh. No, it's that was another thing that I've been talking for a couple of weeks about centralization and decentralization of career services. We've juggled with that a lot, and with the e-board, we kind of finally settled on advocating for a hybrid model. So we looked at other universities, kind of did an informal benchmark study on best practices, looked at multiple professional organizations and their recommendations and their professional standards and recommendations. So this is what kind of on the air right now. So decentralized student services and centralized employer services. With when it goes to decentralization, it will combine academic advising and career advising on college campuses. So this is how we want to do it. We want to kind of make the proposal. So centralized employer services. The reason we want that centralization to lead the existence on college campuses is because we don't want to give hard time for the employers to reach the university. So they need a one-stop shop when they come. And there are a lot of companies who want to recruit across colleges. So for example, LexisNexis, they also recruit at the College of Engineering, also at the College of Business. So we want employers to feel like there's one point of contact, and also for other external services like career fair, networking events, and also for the alumni to go and reach out to the student databases. So that's where the centralized employer services come from. And the student services like resume editing and the other stuff that the centralized office does is also redundant with what the current brandery and whatever in the business school does. So we want that student services to be more college focused, because we want students to get more of what their college entails to. For example, the brandery does a great job of connecting what their industry expectations are in terms of resume editing, or even in terms of preparing for an interview, or the specific skill sets the students has to have, what the companies are looking for. And that kind of differs from across colleges. So that's where we wanted to split that and give more of a college focus. And it's interesting, a lot of big schools, especially research schools, have more of a decentralized focus. And Wright State being a research university, and in the research side, the Carnegie classification universities, more than 54% of the universities have a decentralized focus. But also they have this hybrid model. In recent trends, and especially the career services professional organizations advocate for combining the academic advising, because the academic advising and career advising are both hand in hand. So what goes into career advising actually goes into, the academic advising goes into career advising at the later part of their students. And by that, we can also help students in deciding majors. So their student doesn't have to change their major in the middle of the year, which is another reason for the increased tuition costs and all that. So that's kind of the model they are working on currently. We don't have the actual proposal yet, but wanted to open the floor for discussion on how you guys feel about it and thoughts on this. or any questions.
We're moving away from a resolution and more towards a proposal at this point, just
Yeah.
to actually provide some meat and bones onto what we're actually looking into. Great.
So from conversations that I've had with Dr. Klingbeil, employers don't want a one-stop shop employer services. They want to reach out to the College of Engineering and Computer Science and request 5 engineering majors. They want to reach out to the College of Business and request so many business majors. They don't want a centralized person who isn't specialized in each college. They want separate people. That's just what Dean Klingbeil has said. So,
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are going to want the specialized focus of who they can talk to when they're recruiting for students, especially smaller companies who may not be recruiting across colleges will definitely like that. So to clarify what Nathan was saying about the hybrid model, there wouldn't be only centralized, and that's where employers would call, and it's only centralized, and then students get only decentralized. It's all one system where it's partially centralized, partially decentralized. So there would be a phone number they could call for career services to get students. If they called in, they'd then be able to get connected with somebody in engineering, if that's what they were looking for, or in business, and then they'd be talking to somebody within the college. But at least there would be one administrative function to route those calls, but more importantly, for the outreach. So right now, the career services professionals in different colleges might do outreach to LexisNexis or other companies like that. And if they're not communicating on what companies they're reaching out to, it makes Right State look a little unprofessional. That we're having multiple people connecting with recruiters of that company for different roles. So having a centralized point of contact to then distribute information both directions is the advantage of that.
So you're basically saying like decentralized career services with more of a centralized oversight, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be very similar to how it is now, but there is central, there's decentral, but the communication would be very processed. There would be more of a process to it in the future. It would work that way.
Yeah, and kind of a lot of information. And in the proposal, the centralized existing model will face the cut down in terms of staff in their office and resources. I don't know. The centralized office will take the hit.
Brenna?
So how is this playing into like cost and stuff like that? Is cutting them down going to be able to equalize what we're trying to change, or?
So there's not going to be a lot of cost benefit at this point in time. But however, kind of realigning the resources, for example, since this model also proposes for an integration of academic advising, we have the Student Success Center with 12 general advising people, but also we have colleges having their own advising. So it will look at the bigger picture on how many resources we're spending just to increase one service of a student. And based on that analysis is when we can talk more about the cost benefit analysis more.
So even if there's not a cost benefit, is there at least not a cost?
Yeah, even with this kind of the limited information, it definitely saves more money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And you said the tutoring is included in this?
Yes.
So maybe trying to have, even if you're not in your college yet, you would still be advised by someone in that college?
In the college.
I think that'd be way better, because just working over orientation this summer, it was a mess. Like the things that, like I knew I would help students and they'd be like, oh, my advisor told me to do this. And I was just like, I even knew better than that, but they just seemed that they just want to get them in and out, and it was some horrible lines. And so I think having someone advised by like a nursing advisor, an engineer advisor, even if they're not in a college yet, would be really beneficial. So.
So I had 2 questions. The first one is, are part-time student employment under career services? Is that a thing? Like part-time students?
Yes.
How would that be affected by this hybrid model?
It will still be under the centralized oversight, because that's where we want to maintain the across. So it will still be maintained under them.
Okay, sweet. And I guess following up with that, I'm still not quite sure how. So it's decentralized oversight versus, I don't know if you can explain that.
So the models that we looked at have coach teams. That's how they call it. So the coach teams will be specific to each colleges, and they will be reporting to their colleges, not to the centralized oversight. but there will be increased vested connection between the centralized oversight just to share resources and data, for more of an employer. So employer can reach out to them, and from them it's channeled through the respective colleges. So really, the service is for a student. You don't have to. So all you have to care about is working with your college. So I don't have to juggle between where I need to go and all that. And as an employer, I don't have to worry about who should I call, which college should I call. I just have to call one person, and the coach teams will work within themselves, within the model.
Okay, so follow up with that. I don't know if this is a dumb question, but so with that being said, you find a job through your college, but you go through the actual paperwork and actually filing for that job, getting your employment squared away with the centralized.
So you mean for the part-time jobs on campus?
Yeah, for part-time jobs or even.
Yeah, for the part-time jobs, it's centralized because because they have to deal with the payroll and all of that. Yes.
So that's completely separate. Okay, that makes sense.
Is there any other discussion? All right. So Nathan's going to keep working on that, and we should have an update over the next couple of weeks.
Feel free to send me an email or talk to me about this over the week.
Gavin has a point on the SGA scholarship.
Yeah, so we got a comment from Jason Lansdale. Some of you might have met him, but he was a past SGA member, SG at the time. He was the equivalent of Chief Justice, and he's helped out a lot over the last couple of years and donated to the SG scholarship. So I just want to give a quick update on that because Daniel's not here. But he has more of the details on the process and where it stands right now, but it's still moving. We are moving toward an endowment versus having the fund that gets paid into each year and then immediately paid out. So all the fundraising efforts are going towards the endowment. Next week I can have Daniel give a full update on where the numbers stand with that and where the process is as far as the committee and applications that have been reviewed. But I know he's leading that. Got a full transition on it from David from last year. And we should be awarding in the next couple weeks the scholarships for this year.
Thank you. Rowdy Bob, have a word. Bev?
All right, well, this person has taken my jokes and my dry sense of humor very well, and I appreciate it, and this person does a good job in their respective role, and I give this to Brenna.
I do want to say that since I'm trying to get a job at the hospital and everything like that, so it was really hard for me to not run for senator. I was talking to Gavin about it. But Student Government Association really is like my family, and I'm going to really miss being able to have an opinion and a vote here, but I plan to still be in committees and come to meetings when I can, so I just want to thank for a great 2 years so far.
Awesome. Advisory reports. Gary?
Just some announcements. So this week, the entire week is Greek Week, and tomorrow night's kind of one of my favorite events. Lip Sync is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. If you've not ever seen the competition, it's pretty funny. Well worth showing up. Friday is the Board of Trustees meeting. The Finance Committee meeting starts at 8 in the Apollo Room. The Student Board of Trustees meeting follows at 10:15 if any of you are interested. Various student organizations and advisors for their contributions, so hope that you all can make that. On the 14th, which is the next day, if you are so inclined, the Amigos Latinos Gala and the Nutter Center is going on that night. And then on the 18th, the Belinga Black Cultural Resources Center will have an event honoring their graduates, and they also do an awards ceremony. And then lastly, on the 19th, the LGBTQA Affairs Center does a lavender graduation event and honors all of our students who identify with that population. And that's a nice event as well, and that's at 7 o'clock in the RAT. So lots of great opportunities to go experience different things and celebrate people's successes. So I hope you get a chance to do some of that. That's it.
Thanks, Gary. And then announcements. Red State International Festival. Jordan sent out an email to SGA earlier today asking for volunteers for this. It's from 1 to 5 on April 15th in the Nutter Center. If you haven't been to it before, it's this massive event that takes up the entire Nutter Center. You see a bunch of different cultures and really get to experience everything. So I strongly encourage you to at least attend. If you don't have anything going on, just volunteer for an hour or two. That'd be really helpful for them. And then our Young's Diary event is this Saturday from 4 to 7. Harleen was in charge of our freshman intern, internal cohesion committee, and they did an incredible job all year. She planned this entire event and put it all together for us. So if you're not doing anything, at least come out at 4 o'clock to this. I'm going to be meeting in the SJ office at 3:30 and carpooling over. So if anybody needs a ride, I've got at least 4 seats for me. I strongly encourage you to attend just for a little bit. It sounds like a really fun time that Harleen put a lot of time into, and her committee did. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.